In product management, we are often told, play to your strengths. But what if I told you shining with your strength is just the starting point? Real career growth happens when you build new strengths intentionally and expand your impact beyond what people expect from you. Today, let's talk about how you can not just grow but stand out. Let's break this down into three parts. First part is all about how you can leverage your strength to establish a baseline for your career growth. Second, we're going to talk about the concept of expanding your strength into newer areas and what frameworks to apply. And then we're going to talk about what are some of the traps that you will see along the way when you're thinking about expanding your strength. And last, an interesting concept of how do you identify opportunities for your expanding your strengths using the concept of skills arbitrage. People label and associate you to your strengths and weaknesses. On one side, you are well recognized and given opportunities in the areas where you're really strong at, but on the other side, you are also not considered for opportunities where you are obviously perceived as not so great or very strong. So what that means is, on one side, you indeed want to make sure you are taking advantage and making the most of the opportunities coming along the way that's aligning with your strengths. But at the same time, being labeled for your weaknesses, you also should make sure you're not losing newer opportunities that you can really scale and build a growth path for yourself. Recommendation here is your current strengths are table stakes. That's your entry ticket into your growth space. Identify your strengths clearly and make intentional efforts to ensure that they shine visibly to your team and leadership. And don't assume strengths will automatically be recognized and noticed. I would like to share an example from my own career. When I started my software product management career way back in 2000s, I had no technical background. I'm not a software engineer. I'm a finance professional by qualification. And I came into the software company building products in stockbroking back office. So all I knew was the basics of finance and accounting and all about the financial management concepts. So my strength was my domain knowledge. And I was able to take advantage of that by further strengthening my knowledge in that problem space which that product was trying to solve, which is capital markets and stockbroking. And I was able to apply myself better in terms of my domain knowledge in understanding that problem space. So I stayed focused on that. I did not make an effort to expand into learning software programming or learning any kind of technical side of the product work. So I stuck with my domain knowledge expertise. I was able to make a significant impact in that role as a domain expert in that product team. A couple of years later, I got an opportunity to join Oracle as a QA engineer. While I was doing a high quality product work, suddenly an opportunity to become a QA engineer needs a different mindset. But however, it was a big brand like Oracle establishing their operations in India, and working in a big product company was a rare thing to come by. So I quickly grabbed that opportunity. But when I joined Oracle, my strength again was my domain knowledge. I am a qualified cost accountant by education, and I joined a product team which was building a cost accounting application. So my domain knowledge perfectly matched with the product space. And again, I still did not pursue building new skills in terms of knowing software programming. So I tried to stay within my domain knowledge realm, and I was able to make a significant contribution. Being a QA engineer, all I had to do was to become an end user by myself and test the software product. So I became a cost accountant, and I was able to appreciate what that product was trying to achieve, and I was able to contribute towards improving that product's quality both functionally as well as a software. So in both the examples I spoke about, the focus was really on how you can really leverage your strengths, and that's a table stake. So by showcasing my domain knowledge in the product work, in whatever capacity and opportunity it was presented with, I was able to communicate and make an impact to my team and leadership that Shyam is indeed a domain expert in capital market, in cost accounting domain. And he is the go-to person if there is any question about, hey, how do you approach this problem? And hey, can you bring more clarity to this accounting treatment? So I became the go-to person in terms of clarifying and understanding that domain space that the product was trying to solve for. So that's what I'm referring to as you have to make sure you stay focused, build conscious attempts, and showcase your strengths with all the opportunities that comes to you organically. Now, once you have established this base in your team and in your product company, that product role, now comes, okay, what next for me? So how I can accelerate my career into newer areas and do more exciting stuff. So growth comes only from real and intentional effort, and not from chasing things that looks cool or that is a current trend, right? So for example, the trend at the time when I joined the product companies early in my career, software tech was really hot. Like people who learned to do programming were really hot commodity. It was very easy for me to access and join additional certification courses and pursue that and build that skill. But I resisted myself because I didn't organically feel that's something that I would really love to do, and that's where my energy is. And just because it was cool and hot, I did not go after it. So how do you bring clarity in terms of in what direction you want to expand yourself, build new strengths? So the core of this is, what exactly do I need to become good at? And there are a couple of dimensions there. One dimension is where you see yourself enjoying and where your energy is taking you as a space where you want to expand into. And second is, what is the opportunity available in the team and in the company where you're working, where you can start tapping into those areas where you are feeling the energy. So those are the two pillars of tapping into what is directionally the next thing that I should be doing in terms of expanding your strengths. So talking about what are the things that you really feel the energy and you really enjoy about, which is not your current strength, I think is interesting area where you need to go through a deep process of reflection and thought process within yourself. And the way I do that is I put myself in a simulation mode of trying to do that particular type of work and live through that for a couple of days. Imagine the day in the life scenarios, what it looks like doing that type of work. And in order to feel that simulation, you have to first understand what the type of work really means. It means you have to talk to the people who are doing the type of work, observe those people, and really feel that particular type of work, what it really means to really live through and enjoy. And I do that. For example, if I'm aspiring to get into a go-to-market kind of a role, I look at those teams and I have intentional conversation. I ask people, hey, how it's for you in terms of working on this project, those teams, and I have intentional conversation. I ask people, hey, so I try to learn their point of view of that particular work type and see if it resonates and creates energy for me. So that's one technique you can use. But end of the day, it's a very personal journey for you in terms of identifying what you are really going to enjoy and kind of work that you will really enjoy. Coming to the second pillar, which is, what is the concept of skills arbitrage in your team? So end of the day, how practical it is to start building your new strength is dependent on the opportunities in your environment. If you closely observe your working environment, you will clearly see there are areas where there are no takers and for various reasons. Maybe it's not something that is looking attractive from outset. It's not something that the leadership is interested in pursuing, or it's something that it's a very boring and tedious kind of a space. So you never know. There could be various reasons why it's that particular area is having no takers, right? Second thing is, the arbitrage opportunities could be team that you're working with. Maybe your engineering team is having certain gaps in their overall skill set as an engineering team. For example, that they might be super technical but may lack a functional context. So you might be able to provide an opportunity, like you might have an opportunity to bring in that functional context to your engineering team, right? So it's not a defined role at all, but it's an opportunity where you start to see how engineers think. You start to see how engineers are actually designing the software and the product, and you will have a closer inside view of how they operate. So all that really helps you to expand your skills towards your software design and functional architecture, right? And then third thing could be that hey, it's an area I know I'm not great at, but I really love it, but I cannot ask for a project, but I'm intensely interested in learning about that space because I see the energy flowing in that space. So those are the kind of areas where you should pursue a secondary work. For example, you can volunteer and say, hey, can I write the documentation for this project? Can I contribute to the white paper that you're working on for this project? Hey, can I do testing for this project? Through testing, I learned that space. So find secondary opportunities that particular team may really be in need of, and you can contribute to that. So but through those secondary opportunities, you are actually learning and building those skills at an intense pace, and also creating credibility in front of the other teams who are observing you in terms of how you are picking up that space. Let's talk about a framework on how you can expand your strength. So this is the classic framework that I have applied through my career, and it's something very simple and very practical. So I call this framework as learn, observe, suggest, and voice. So learning is a phase where you are hands-on, means that you're really getting into that space, practically day in, day out, talking to the people, understanding where they come from, understanding the history behind that particular problem space. The knowledge that has evolved over a period of time is very important. Phase one, because that's where your primitive opinions are formed and about that particular space that you want to go after. Second phase is observe, where you are participating in many of the discussions in that space, but you're not commenting or judging or sharing your opinion. You're just there observing and validating. So maybe when the conversation is going on, you might have a burning question, but you just wait out and see if the group is talking about that question, and then you have to think about that, what could be the answer for that question, and then you might be surprised to see that as one of the start to see that the group is talking about the same solution that you had in mind. So slowly it builds validation in terms of, hey, your understanding of the problem, your understanding of how you want to solve that problem is also the same way that particular group who are already the expert in that area is also approaching it in the same. So once you go past the observations phase, then it comes the suggestion phase. So this is where you start to make contributions, but more from the point of view of a suggestion or a recommendation. So it could be a discussion where, hey, you notice something, the group is brainstorming, and that you see that, hey, there is a situation where somebody needs to come up with a solution, and that's where you read that in a situation and then say, hey, can I suggest something? Is this something worth considering? Bring in that tone of suggestion and start making contributions through that mechanism. And you will start to see that, hey, because you have spent time in learning, you have spent time in observing, and now with suggestion, it brings in more credibility to that whole credibility to the overall conversation. And then last thing phase is that you are going to voice. So what it means is that you're going to lead with a point of view, which means you have arrived in that space. You are in a position where you're able to build your own point of view. That means that you are ready for really taking charge in that space. So learn, observe, suggest, and voice is a great framework to go through in order to fully enter into a new area and build your strength in that area. So what are some of the traps in this whole effort of expanding your strength? Playing your strength is one side of things, but trying hard to do something that is optics driven or something you aspire with no intentional effort to convert it into a strength yet are the typical traps. So I'll give you a couple of examples. Like, for example, hey, I want to do this project because this project is a high visible leadership initiative. Yeah, I want to do this project because it's using latest technology. It's so cool, and I want to be on top of all the latest and greatest that we are working on. So these are the classic traps you could fall into, fear of missing out kind of a syndrome. As a part of this, what happens, we sometimes refuse to take on the work in our strength zone. There could be still projects coming your way, which is aligning with your strength, but because you are going after the shiny objects, you are not, taking on those opportunities. So continuing to take on the opportunity in the area of your strength is an important consideration here, right? So you don't want to refuse a work because it's incremental or just it's not in the top radar of the leadership is probably not a great idea given it's right in your strength zone. The other thing that you might also fall for is, hey, people will continue to associate me with that strength. Hey, this guy is known for this. Let's give all the work related to this, because he's great in that. Yes, that's a possible trap, but the flip side of that is it's also an opportunity to show your leadership in that space and probably bring in newer people. You say, hey, yes, I'm ready to take on that, but I need help, or I need an additional hands for me to execute this. So that way, while you take the leadership of that area, you're labeled for as great at, but yet you're able to delegate and get it executed through an extended team. So let me give an example from my own career in terms of an arbitrage scenario. So I was part of this cost accounting product team within the supply chain management pillar, but I'm a finance professional. So I come and from a finance background, I live and breathe finance and accounting. But I was part of the supply chain management portfolio of products. Within that, this cost accounting was one of the financial application oriented area. And there was a problem space around how do you solve for an intercompany treatment when the supply chain flows involve cross-border movements. For example, you manufacture in one country, you sell in another country. So there's a lot of finance and accounting implications. So that particular area was sitting in core supply chain applications like inventory, procurement, and so on. So there was an opportunity where we wanted to re-architect, and the re-architecture required somebody who knows both finance and supply chain. We had great people who are experts in those product areas, respective product areas in supply chain, but however, they were not deep into the finance and accounting. So I was part of the cost accounting product, which had a unique opportunity of learning both supply chain and finance. So I built that strength. Even though I was focusing on my product of cost accounting, I was able to expand my knowledge into the core supply chain areas as well. So when this opportunity came to re-architect, I grabbed that opportunity because there was no single person there in that group who were experts or had a great understanding of both the supply chain and finance. So that's an example of a skills arbitrage in the team. Of course, after that, we expanded the team, and we now have people who are really great in both spaces, many more people. But there was the short period of time, a year or so, where this particular skill was in scarcity and the idea was going around. So I grabbed that opportunity and I was able to make the best use of that as my next growth engine in my career. To summarize, the core message is to move forward in your career, you must expand and on how people see you, and without abandoning your base strengths. So don't refuse work in your strength zone after all. Instead, deliver massive value in your strength and take small steps in adjacent areas. So take on work the others don't want, or volunteer for secondary roles initially, but learn aggressively, and then review and contribute to the projects informally. So build that credibility and knowledge slowly in newer areas so that you set yourself up for the growth whenever the opportunity comes in your way. To conclude, your strengths got you here. Your new strengths will take you further. And the way you expand your impact, that's how you will be remembered. So shine, build, and expand. That's the path forward. Finally, take a moment today, write down one strength that you're known for and one more new strength that you really want to intentionally build, and start taking the small steps towards that. Thanks so much for listening to this episode. Please share your comments and feedback to this video, and also feel free to suggest newer topics that you might want to see in my channel. Thank you so much.